I think I was like any kid growing up in the South back in the 70s. I wanted to play football just like everybody else in the neighborhood did. And we all talked about playing in college and we talked about playing in the pros, but there was something that was driving me a little bit more than just making it to college and playing in the pros. And it was really that I didn't know my dad, my biological father. And so I got this idea that, hey, if I could make it to the National Football League and have a big game on like Monday Night Football, that I could reach out to him and call out his name, and that was what I was going to do. That was my vehicle for finding my dad. So I began working on this dream. That dream got derailed in 8th grade when we moved from Alabama to Milwaukee, and we ended up in a homeless shelter. And there was a place called the House of Peace, and a man that was now deceased, Booker Ash, helped to get us placed in that shelter, and we went through quite a bit of hardship coming out of that shelter right around Christmas time, right up until we were able to get ourselves established over on the south side of Milwaukee. And spent a lot of time walking across that viaduct. We used to look at the skyline and the bright lights, and I always enjoyed looking, knowing in the distance that Lake Michigan wasn't that far away, and that's the way we used to dream, was looking at the skyline and looking at the lakefront. Once we got established over on the south side, I also knew it was time for me to kind of lock in. I was now a sophomore in high school, and it was time for me to start living out this dream. So I joined the football team and the track team at South Division High School, and away we went, trying to achieve this dream and chasing my dad. By my senior year, I had become an All-American in track and field. I was the MVP on the football team, and we won 3 state championships. I then went on to University of Wisconsin lacrosse, which was a Division III school. It didn't have the bright lights of Division I, but it did afford me an opportunity to become an All-American in football, an All-American in track and field, and I was a part of 2 national championship teams in football and track. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin lacrosse, and then I signed a contract with the New York Football Giants, and then played 2 years in the Canadian Football League. So for me, at that point, I felt like I had reached the mountaintop or the pinnacle of success. However, there was still that void left that I still never found my dad, and that really left a hole in my heart. A few years later, after moving to Arizona, a friend of mine reached out to me, and I told her my story about not knowing my father. She did a couple of clicks on the internet and called me back and says, here he is, right here. And so all of those years of searching for this man, I found him. And also found out that he and I were a lot alike. Although he suffered a stroke and he no longer can communicate with me, I have met my father's family, his sons and daughters and my nephews, and it's been awesome. I wrote In His Image, Fatherless to Fatherhood, because I wanted to do more than just tell my story about meeting my dad. I also wanted to challenge parents to stand in the tunnel for their children. Whether you're a single parent, single dad, single mom, or if you have both parents, it's so important to be involved in your children's lives, both academically, whether it's a school play, school recital, athletically, however it is, being there for your children means the world. And it was pretty much the only thing that I really desired of my father, and becoming a father myself, that's what I strive for. In my seminars, I talk a little bit about the experience of not knowing my dad.
This harebrained idea at the age of 8 years old when I was going to play football. There was a team, the boys club in Dothan, Alabama, has football down there.
25 years after my graduation from South Division, I got invited back to speak at their commencement. And it was a great opportunity for me to share my story again with people who walk the same hallways. My story of In His Image, Fatherless to Fatherhood is more than just a football story. It's more than just overcoming homelessness and making it to the NFL. It's about becoming a dad and becoming an integral part in the community. And that's the challenge that I'm putting out there with this book, is you can dream big. And I want you to dream big. I want people to dream even bigger than what my story is. This is just one experience that I'm sharing with society as a whole. But when I go back to the lakefront, and I've had the opportunity to visit back in the fall, I had the chance to sit there and reflect and look back at the fact that I did achieve my dream. I did meet my father. I graduated from college, and I've become a father of my own. And I just want people to learn from my experience and hear from my experience that they too can master their own experiences in their lives, take their place in society, and dream the impossible dreams, the endless possibilities that are out there when you set your mind to your goals.